Easy project.
Let's do it.
The simple.
So
Yeah.
DNS you helped us set up in class the other day.
And then we did Squid in class.
Proxy we already have.
And then Apache and MySQL. I know you both have done that.
Okay, so
and WordPress.
I haven't done. I struggle with WordPress.
Okay, we can work with that. And then FTP. So I think tonight, if there aren't too many questions, I'm actually going to go over the setup of FTP. It's super simple. So if we can go over that, get that recorded, get some of the questions taken care of, should be good to go.
Sweet.
So question was for proxies. I'm going to share my screen. And we'll just minimize this. So under I'm completely network, you have where you can add a proxy. Maybe. Why do mine not show? Oh, because I'm kind of slow today. So you have an HTTP proxy, an HTTPS proxy, an FTP proxy, and a SOCKS host. SOCKS you don't need, but FTP, HTTPS, and HTTP should be set to whatever your proxy is, which would be your local host, port, whatever. I think with Dan's Guardian, you use 8080. So you could just do localhost, localhost, and 8080 there, and the same thing for FTP. So that way, if you hit HTTPS, it goes to your proxy. If you hit FTP, it goes to your proxy, and you can't skirt around it. There are other ways of doing this through basically the router, which I think we went on. No, I didn't talk about that at all. But making sure these are all set up for not just HTTP, but HTTPS and FTP is also important.
Okay, you got ignoring host on yours? I don't have that, so does that make a difference?
No, that just means that when you're hitting a host, like when I type in localhost, what will happen is it will bypass the proxy, so it won't ask the proxy to for that request. It'll bypass it. So if you wanted to bypass like Google in there, now anytime I go to Google, it's bypassed. It's going around the proxy.
So when I had my proxy set to 8080, it would
Oh, they recorded that anyway. Okay, I'm back, right? All right, I'll screen share again. Sorry, messing with the proxy settings apparently jacked up everything. So, sorry about that.
Speak again, let me make sure I can
Test. All right. Yeah, and actually, let me crank the volume on my mic up a little bit. There. That should work. So, basically for the final, the final is basically the last big thing. It's the last big thing for the end of the semester, so it'll probably, you do it, you're going to probably get a really good grade. I'll just say that.
To pass. We need to have these in by the 9th, Friday?
Preferably, yes. So, what was I going to say? Yeah, apparently that proxy stuff applies, so you want to make sure that the HTTPS and the FTP are set, because with HTTPS, Google by default uses HTTPS, anymore. So if you go to Google, it actually takes you to https google.com, which still, for some reason, and I don't even remember the reasons why, encrypted.google.com is actually better if you want strong encryption. Now the thing is, if you're going through a proxy, this presents an interesting problem. So if you are going to want to do HTTPS proxying, which is not required, like if you want it to work, great. I'll show you a way to do that. If you don't need it to work, like you just basically want to get the grade, you don't have to do this for the grade. So that being said, there is Squid SSL bumping. So they have on their website an example of a squid in the middle SSL bump, meaning basically what it's doing is allowing inspection of SSL traffic, which is basically what Dan's Guardian is doing. This is actually a security risk because what it's doing is it's downloading the certificate to itself and then basically using its own built-in certificate to serve it to you. So, say you connect to a malicious site that's SSL signed. Now, normally it might say, hey, this SSL cert is not trusted. But if you do this squid in the middle, it's actually getting around that. It's circumventing that. It's just accepting all of the SSL certificates. So this makes it work, but is a potential security risk. Now, I will say that all of the traffic is still encrypted, so you still have the ability to kind of protect yourself from prying eyes, at least a little bit, except for the NSA. But that's one way of doing it. They also have a dynamic SSL certificate generation. I have not done this, but this is a little bit more secure because what I think it does is it goes out and downloads the certificate and passes it back. Not 100% on that, but I think that's what it does. Yeah. Anyway, these are really good actually in terms of configuration on how to do it. This stuff's been done for you all already, so you don't need to do that. You have to do this stuff though.
So why would you want to use it if it's a security risk?
Well, sometimes the security risk outweighs the security need. This is actually a good example of, say you're a company, a small company, and you want to filter out all sorts of nastiness that there's out there on the internet, like porn or malicious sites or whatever. If you want people to prevent people from basically circumventing that, what you do is you implement this SSL bumping. Now, yes, it does potentially create a situation where a bad SSL cert is accepted. However, if you're doing this properly, you have basically ICAP set up where it will do dynamic content inspection. So, like, CLAM is running, protecting you from whatever malicious might be there. And generally, what I found with bad SSL certificates, it's usually because of really a couple factors. Either someone's let their SSL certificate expire, or it's just like a company. So like there's a lot of projects out there, and they might have like Project A absorbs Project B, and so they recert everything under Project A, and that is just generally the reasons I've found that SSL certificates are bad. That being said, there are some malicious sites that do use SSL certificates, and there's not a whole lot. I mean, most people just click accept on those anyway. At least I do.
So like a good company will let it expire and then waste your time for
Well, no. Let's say I am wanting to scam you. What I can do is I can become a proxy for Amazon.com, and I can put out a certificate that says I'm Amazon.com, but it's different than the certificate that Amazon.com actually has. Now that certificate mismatch in my browser will say, holy crap, something's wrong. But when running Squid to bump those certificates, that error won't happen. And I could go into the techniques on how to do that. It's actually kind of fun, but it's kind of a little more advanced than where we're at right now. But I could basically make Amazon.com show up on your system that was pulling all the files from my system. And I could inject all sorts of nastiness in there. And when you put in your credit card number thinking it's Amazon.com, if you're not paying attention to those SSL certificates, it could be a malicious site like me scamming you. Not that I scam anybody, but proof of concept's actually kind of fun. So, good with that? And what other questions do you have regarding what you guys are doing?
That's it.
Okay, cool.
So
You
this should, we put all those numbers in there, this should be able to get rid of these ads?
It should, yes.
Still have to set them up
It
on the
looks like
list, don't we?
You still have to set the list.
Oh, I have to set them in one. So-
Yeah, but the list, I mean, it's pretty easy to go in there and just
Well,
change those.
It should be, because it's in Foxfire.
Oh, if it's working in
It's working
Foxfire.
in Foxfire.
It's already set up, and it's
It's already
just a
set
matter
up.
of turning it on in Google.
Yeah, it should. Chrome doesn't use its own proxy settings though, so if it's set in your system, it should be working. So, don't know. You had questions.
I've got. Just do what you want to show us.
Where were you at to change the HTTP?
Oh, so that was under. I'm not going to change it because that jacked up my connection last time, but it's under settings, which is the little gear and or wrench and screwdriver thing there, and network. And then there's a network proxy, which I'm not going to even touch. But that's where you go about setting those.
I turn mine on right now, it won't let me get anywhere because I banned all sites.
Ban it all. Global ban.
Hey, that's my reason my homework's not done, because nothing will come up. Wow! I'm banning, I'm gonna ban Steve. Yeah.
That's what I was trying to do is ban Hacker Homebrew. That's what to turn in for my screenshot.
I wonder if I have to go out of this. Oh, I'll just wait to see what happens. 'Cause it works on my Firefox.
So, a brief history of FTP. FTP was around before people used the web to really do a lot of file transferring. FTP used to be the only way. You'd have huge directories on FTP of files that you might want. And it's a special protocol, particularly for copying files. This is why I hate people emailing stuff like files back and forth, because email was never designed to be a file transfer protocol. It was designed to be a protocol for sending messages, text, to people, maybe images, and even then that was an afterthought, not a built-in feature. FTP was designed from the ground up to transfer files between people. It was a little more complicated though, because you have the concept of a server and a client. And the server is what hosted all the files, the client connected to the server downloads the files. So FTP will set that up. What is this nonsense? It's actually pretty easy. So we do yum.
What happened to the online thing?
Oh, what? Is it not still there?
It's on.
No, you're still here on mine. Oh,
I'm on FTP.
Yours is a little bit laggy because you're watching it through YouTube. Do you hear?
I think it's because I changed the ports, because it wasn't doing it a little bit. I'll go remove these ports.
Maybe.
I'll take these off.
Because it's proxying.
Yeah, my computer has to watch it. English.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, either way it works. Okay.
I'll just go change it back, see what happens.
you're still live on mine.
Okay. All right. So it's pretty easy. We do a yum -y, Install VS FTPD.
Hold on.
I think that's it. This might not work, so I'll leave it up here if it does.
Yeah, let's wait and see.
Let's wait. I'll give you an opportunity to, call my bluff here.
I get scared when Steve starts typing fast.
I believe so. It might just be VSFTP. But it's not. I was right. It's VSFTPD, which is very secure file transfer protocol daemon. So, yum.
VSFTPD.
Yep.
There you go, Daddy.
For literally
I can't be that quick.
VSFTPD. It's 167 kilobytes. So yeah, it can be that quick.
It was that quick.
So that is just about it in terms of the installation. Let's do some configuration to make sure everything's good to go. Actually, I think it does work out of the box, but we're going to go check it. It's vim, etc., vsftpd, vsftpd.conf. Very secure file transfer protocol daemon. Try saying that 10 times fast.
Dot.
So what this is saying is we have anonymous enabled, yes. So anonymous FTP, anybody can connect to this. Local enable, yes. That means that allows local users to log in. When SE Linux is enforcing, check for SE bool FTP homedir, which we're in permissive mode, or at least we should be. I will make a quick note about SE Linux, but not at this very second. We're saying write enable, that means people can actually upload to this FTP as well. A local UMask for local users is 077. You may wish to change this to 022 if your users expect that. 022 is used by most other FTPDs. We're going to leave it at default. Connect from port 20, yes, okay. Transfer log standard format, yes, that's cool. Basically, all I'm looking here is the configuration. So this is interesting. This, to listen on IPv4, is set to no, but listen to IPv6 is set to yes. Now, this statement right here explains why. You can only have one of these two enabled, and by default, listening on the IPv6 any address, : will accept connections from both IPv6 and IPv4 clients, which is the exact sort of configuration we want. So that's fine. All that's perfectly good. Do we have a home directory? Like, where is this set to? We can also add a banner if we wanted to. So we can say, oh, everybody thank Christian for getting pizza because he's awesome.
Christian
like that.
Is my new friend.
So pizza for everybody here in the lab.
So what will the banner say?
The banner, when you log in, it'll actually say, hey, I am this FTP server. Like, obviously I can type. I'm really looking for where this is wanting to pull from, because you should. I'm going to save this and exit out. I'm also going to go in here. Those are all good.
Talk about what you're doing while you're doing it.
So I checked these two files, this FTP users and user list. These are default, these are fine, these are just the users that are by default allowed to log into FTP. What I'm really looking for is where FTP is really wanting to pull. So when I upload a file to FTP, I want to know where it goes. So I'm going to go back to my vsftpd.conf file, and I'm going to look at, I want this conf.5. Right? Copy, Q, so it'll man that. Yeah, there is. Okay, so I just did a man vsftpd.conf, and it gives me the different options that we can have in that config file, which I want a dir list enabled, hide IDs. So I think, this is my theory, working theory, is that for users that log in, it will go to their home directory. But let's check it out. Let's just try it. I'm more for practical. Let's do a systemctl. Wow, I'm awesome at typing today. vsftpd. Systemctl restart vsftpd, which restarts the service. If it was already running, I want to restart it. If it's not running, it'll restart, or it'll start. So now I can actually just hit FTP localhost, and it gives us actually a pub directory. So I'm actually going to do an update DB because I'm curious. So what I'm doing is I'm re-indexing my hard drive to find this pub directory because I want to know where the FTP is configured to be hosting from. So locate pub, var FTP pub. Good enough for me.
But the,
Yeah.
but one internet plugin, this one or the green one?
That one should work.
They, access.
You know, to do that damn file.
And I don't know where exactly. There's no trial and error here until it works. Yep, pretty much. It won't be on the same network as us, but you should be able to get out to the internet.
So if we're there, this is where you are.
Yep, that's exactly where I'm at. All I did was find where the directory was, and it is in var FTP pub. And I'm going to go there right now. I'm going to touch. Actually, I'm going to vim a file.
This is a file.
Okay. So now if I go back to my web browser, go back into pub, we have a.file. So that's showing that this is pretty much done. We're good to go. So I didn't really change anything, honestly. All I did was install it and start the service, and I have FTP running.
What can we do with it now?
Well, let's say, for example, you are a webmaster. And as a webmaster, you want to put files onto your FTP site. Like you want to basically upload changes to your website through FTP, which is pretty common. So I know that all of my FTP public directory is in var FTP pub, but I can change that, or I should be able to. So I'm going to go back to man, vsftp.conf. I'm going to look for Fine. What I really want to find here is where I can change that directory that it's listening, or that it's looking at. I want to research, searching, repeat, search. So I just hit N. So I did that search for a directory, and now I can just hit N, and it'll find the next occurrence of it. That's why I went to help for that. Use local time, nope. Nope. Deny file. What is this? Deny file, no. Hide file, no. Message file, no. Ooh, this is better. Use subtoken, no. And that was the first. Okay, system changes the VS3 startup. The VS3 packages. Change symbolic links to var. The generator is called during daemon reload. Non-make to write enable. Q. So we're going to go about this a different way. I'm going to do nope. Sometimes services will put extra configuration files in sysconfig, but that's not the case in this instance. I don't believe. I don't see anything with FTP in there, or VSFTP. Yeah. So, nice try. For me. So this is where I go to my good friend Google, and we consult the Oracle and find, and actually I'm feeling a little extra paranoid today, so we're going to go to DuckDuckGo, which is one of my favorite search engines. Did I mention I can't spell today? Look at that. No, that's all I want. This one might work. Local root. Well, that's handy. I'm going to go back to the man pages just to see if that's still an option. And it is. Oh, maybe this. This actually looks better. 10 years after this was answered, it was answered again. So, all right. Haha. That actually makes sense. So, I'm going to go into my... So the service is actually run by a VSFTPD user. And if we look down here, maybe not. Shadow shouldn't be it. Great. Those are now useless passwords to me. Well, I hope that they didn't wrap. I'm not going to go back and check.
We did that last year too.
I hope that that was only part of the hash, which would save me. But if it was the whole hash, someone out there is crazy enough
No.
to run a OCR on a YouTube video to find out my password. Oh, that's because it's not. It's in password. Is there an FTP user? There is an FTP user. And if you see here, the directory, their home directory, is var FTP, which if you notice back on our, if I just go to localhost, all I have is a folder underneath it called pub, which inside of var FTP there's a directory called pub. This is because this is here. Now if I change this to var HTML, and I do a systemctl restart vsftpd, I should, assuming SE Linux is not an issue, see everything that's in my var .html. Which, if you guys remember, we did MyWebSQL, which is now here. MyWebSQL. If I want to go, I could now go and upload stuff to this FTP site using FTP to modify my website. So it's kind of cool, kind of useful. And usually when you have a standalone web server, you'll have an FTP server that's along with it for this very purpose. And the nice thing about VSFTPD is it's not just an FTP server, but it's also a secure FTP server. So I think it's actually SFTP. Oh, geez. And I can't remember if it's FTP or FTP, or is SFTP or FTPS, because they're actually different. So FTPS and SFTP are two different things. They both have FTP in their name, but only one of them is actually FTP. The other is actually basically SCP session that stays open that allows you remote file system access via SSH. I'm actually just going to Google it because I don't remember.
I feel like it should be FTPS.
It is FTPS, is the extension for File Transfer Protocol, and it's Secure Shell, which is securing FTP over an SSH session. So, not that really any of that really matters, but there is a difference between the two. But that's how you set it up. It's pretty. That's very basic. If you guys wanted to go more in depth, the man pages have very good information. Disabling anonymous access on a public FTP site is a very good idea, unless you have a very good reason for it to be public. For example, if you're Dell and you release drivers and such, having an ftp.dell.com is kind of handy. Well, they must have took it down. I mean, it's still on, but there's nothing there. But they used to have like drivers and stuff on their site through FTP. Oh, there it is. It's just slow. So this is kind of all of their stuff ever, which makes it really easy, like for someone like me who deals with this stuff all the time. I could just mirror, I could do a wget on this entire FTP branch and get all their drivers, which is handy because I keep that stuff around. Stupid Chrome.
Want to use Firefox?
Firefox right now is going through some proxy and Dirk-a-Dirk-stan. So that's one of the things. That's one of the uses for anonymous FTP. Am I on?
You got a question?
Oh, I got a question. Dual build after servers. Right now. Okay, that's fine. All right. So all this stuff is online, so you can always go back. Basically, what we did was FTP and it's installation and configuration. It's real easy. Even by I think your guys' standards, that was pretty easy, right?
As long as it all goes like it's supposed to. It never does.
It never does. That's okay. That's called learning.
Yeah.
To make it go as easily as I make it go. But VSFTPD, Yum installed VSFTPD, and all I did was change my. So what I did was I edited my password file, my etc. PASWD, which ironically doesn't actually contain passwords, but user configurations.
PAS what?
WD.
Then the FTP language.
Yeah, so I changed the FTP home directory from var FTP to var HTML to show you guys an example of using an FTP server in conjunction with a web server to make it usable and make it something that you would use. Now, something that you would use on the broad internet is not anonymous access like what I did, but disabling anonymous access and then logging in with the user. And so the only difference there is I didn't enable anonymous access, which you guys don't need to. Just don't put this out on the worldwide intertubes. It's bad. But, for the purposes of this, it's fine. So, that's it there. Questions? I'm sensing that you didn't get yours working right.
What?
Your FTP.
Oh, yeah.
You got it
Yeah, I
running?
showed it to you.
Running good?
This permission tonight. Did I type it in right?
Because you need to vim it.
Oh.
Because it's basically when you type in that, it's trying to run it as a program, but you can't.
There it
Yours
was.
is good.
Okay. No, I got behind. I couldn't get into the file. The big file kept coming in and through. So
Yeah. So you're good there, and
I
just
got in there. Yeah.
you can change that, and you're good to go. All right. Well, I'm actually good to chow on some pizza. I feel like Steve, you had some questions, did you? Maybe not. Isn't liking Fedora driver problems. Try CentOS. What model PowerEdge is it? Yeah, I've never run Fedora on an 1800. I have run CentOS on an 1800. I actually had a lot of problems with an 1800. But I know I've done it on a 1920. And the problems I was having were actually hardware related, not related to CentOS or Fedora. After login. That sounds oddly familiar to that problem that I was having with my 1800. I'm actually getting rid of them. So if anyone wants a pair of Dell PowerEdge 1800s, I've got 2 to give away. It could be something with GNOME. You might try GUIless. Just drop to a console by hitting Control-Alt F2, and that'll drop you to a console, and see if you can get around and maneuver around with that. At least you could look at the error logs. There isn't for Fedora, but for CentOS, there's what they call a minimal install, which is just the bare basics. But you can always go, even in Fedora, if you hit Control-Alt-F2, it'll drop you to a text mode shell, and you can do everything you need to do. It's just, instead of having a window like this for your console, it's the whole screen. It's everything, all at once. And it's white on black, and it's really kind of painful. It reminds you of probably the old DOS days. But I like that. All my servers that I do are like that because there's no reason to have, yeah, Control Alt F2 or Control Alt F3. Any one of the F buttons. Usually they go to 7. 1 is almost always reserved for your GUI. So if you hit Control Alt F1, it'll switch back to your GUI. Control Alt 2 through F7 are terminals. So you can actually switch between consoles that way. So I can't do it without, I mean, I can't show it to you because if I do it, I'll lose screen share. But if you guys do it here, just hit a Control Alt F2. Yeah. Weird. Maybe Chrome's taking that. Click on the desktop. There's a Control Alt. There you go.
Oh, what did I just do?
You dropped to a console.
Oh, I don't
So
want
to go back to your GUI, you had to go back to Control Alt F1, and that'll bring back your GUI.
Control what?
Alt F1.
It's like that.
What am I in there for?
Those are just like if you have any problems with your GUI, you can at least get into your computer and get to a shell and see logs. I had to do that when the very first week when my system was totally horked. That's what I was using to get my system back up and running, which I finally just decided to reinstall. It was a good decision. So that's good. But anyway, did you have any questions on the final? Okay. Yeah, if you don't have any other questions on the final, I'm okay. Well, here's the thing. Like the option number 4 is stuff that we've already done. So everything on the final for option number 4 is done. So if you guys feel panicked and feel like you can't get something done, I have videos now explaining how to do everything that's on number 4 with DNS, Apache, with FTP, MySQL, all that stuff, WordPress. So
We have kind of a list instead of say what. So we don't go.
I don't. But I do know that the Apache, MySQL, WordPress, and MediaWiki were in week 6, I want to say.
What was it?
The WordPress, all that stuff, and Apache. Apache's simple.
Maria, SQL
Yeah.
was in 6.
Yep. That would be it
Apache
then.
was in 6. HTTPD was in 6.
So that would be 6 would basically give you everything except for DNS and FTP. FTP we just did today. And DNS we did 2 weeks ago.
Well,
DNS is in week 12.
12. So there you go. 6, 12, and now 15.
I'm working on 12 now.
So that's a good roadmap if you don't have anything to go there. Otherwise, I'd say, Steve, particularly you've kind of been following along, getting some hardcore stuff done. Go try something new, do something different. Like find a project out there and just go for it.
Here's a good project. Get mine going.
Well, go. There's a bunch of projects. Like if you're passionate about something with computing, go find if there's an open source solution for it, particularly if it's a server, and do it. Or get World of Warcraft running on Wine, because I know there's a couple tweaks you might need to do to get it working. Whatever. I'm flexible. More or less, I want to just shove you in the right direction. Oh, and I didn't see there. Should you be able to do this in CentOS? Yes. CentOS is the only difference is in CentOS is basically instead of doing a systemctl restart service, it's a literally service whatever start restart whatever. I think I default to that syntax, but to start a service I would do a service vs ftpd restart, and it still works on Fedora, but it redirects it to systemctl. And in CentOS 6, this is the way you do it, and in CentOS 7, which I'm not entirely sure is released yet, it's the same way as Fedora with using systemctl. But that's not come along in CentOS 6 yet. But you should be able to do everything that you can do in Fedora yeah, very similar to DOS. Lot better. A lot better. A lot more powerful. You know, if DOS is like it's like a 50cc Honda CR engine, whereas Linux is like this, you know, maybe inline 6 diesel that cranks out like, you know, 4,000 horsepower that's on a oil tank ship, which, by the way, those are awesome. So, anyway, I'm good. If you guys are good, for those of you who are here, you get pizza. Awesome.
For those of you online,
I kind of want to like send you like get your address from you and order like Domino's to your house, Steve, because you've been coming like almost every week online. Nice library, yeah, yogurt and veggie trays, I guess. You know, I guess that does. You know, it's not pizza.
it's something.
It's something. All right, cool. Oh, well, you might be luckier than me. All right, cool. Well, if anything's anything else, if anybody has anything else, let me enunciate correctly. I think we're good for this week. The finals should be due next week. Please get them to me, because I'd like to. If you can get them to me now, I'd be super pumped, because that way I can just like put your grade in and not have to worry about it the rest of the semester, which is only another week or so anyway. So the sooner you get it in, the happier I will be. So we're good. Talk to you guys later.